Hello, Russell of Hotels going live just for a couple minutes. You guys know how I do it. Today is what is the day? Today is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. Guess what? It's only a couple more days or maybe a day and a half, and I can say this 2025 thing, right? We'll be out with the old, in with the new. So hopefully you guys are doing well today on this Tuesday. This is none other than On Air with Russell of Hotels. You know that live hospitality talk show that everyone's talking about? This is it, right? So this is show number 325. This will be the last one of the year. Can you believe that? I mean, where did all the time go? And it's a milestone, 325, right? You always want to end it in a zero or a five, right? So there you go. So I got my headset in, my some earplugs in. So hopefully it works better. Meaning you can hear me better. Um, I'm hoping that is the case. I'm not sure because I'm not on the receiving end, right? So, but this is the monologue part. So I want to make sure everything is how it's supposed to be. Let me see. Okay, I'm trying to get live on IG as well, and I there we go. I think we are live on IG as well. So these are the platforms that we're live on, supposedly. Okay, so it's a mystery until it's over, right? So Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, okay, and IG. Okay, so those are the ones we're supposed to be live on. So that's like five today. So that's five platforms that we're live on. One stream, five, or one broadcast or one show, five, platforms that I'm broadcasting to. So once again, hopefully my sound is okay because I keep hearing something click. But anyway, we're just gonna go with it, and hopefully it works. So like I said, this is the monologue part. So this gives me time to kind of make sure, fine tune everything, make sure everything looks okay, sounds okay. So hopefully that is the case. Feel free to make comments. Either if you're on Instagram, you can make comments. I just click over and see the comments. If you're on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, as well as TikTok, I believe, you can make your comments and they will pop up on my screen here under the chat. So feel free to chat away. You have questions, you just want to say something, you want to say F off, whatever you want to say, go ahead and do it. Okay. I'm here for all of it, right? All of it. I'm here for all of it. So let me just click over and see if any comments. I see Craig Giangrosso. I see two Craigs. Okay. I see Craig Giangrosso and I see Craig Sullivan. So, hey, what's going on? Happy New Year to you as well. And aloha. And the same for everybody else out there, Craig included out there in Texas. Tell your family I said hello, Craig. Appreciate your support over the years. Appreciate you. Next time I'm in town, of course that's one of the stops I got to make. Anytime I'm in Texas, is specifically the Houston area, I got to stop in and see Craig. So and his family. So we'll make sure we do that again. But no, thank you so much. I appreciate the comments. And hopefully, guys, you hear me okay. Craig, can you tell me, can you hear me okay? That's always a concern. And I want to just make sure that you can hear me. Oh, the sound is good. Okay, Craig said the sound is good. Okay, all right. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And I can't put your comments on the screen because you are on IG, but that's okay. So like I said, we'll go back and forth and see if there's comments over there on IG, but my main screen is focused on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Not that the other ones aren't, important. They are. It's just that it doesn't all show up on my screen. So you got two different platforms going on. So anyway, this was, like I said, the monologue before the intro. So we're going to get to the intro in a couple of seconds. We got a topic today. I normally always have a topic, and today's no different. And it's going to be interesting because this is something that tends to happen at the end of the year. Okay, I get phone calls, and how do I get these topics? You may ask, or whatever. How do I come up with this topic? Is that I have conversation with many people, right? And for the most part, they're salespeople or directors of sales and marketing for their respective hotels, and we have conversation about things like how things are going. We talk about business, we talk about things like that, and some of the topics that come up or I think it's time for me to leave. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna leave it at that, right? So I'm gonna leave it at that before, and then we'll get into the topic. So once again, oh, thank you so much. So the same people that are on Instagram jumped on LinkedIn and YouTube to let me know that the sound is good. See, that's what I'm talking about. So you get people like that that are there to okay. So Craig Gingrossa says sound is good. Thank you so much. And then Mr. Craig Sullivan says budget season. Okay, well, in budget season over? Budget season should be over, right? So, but no, that's not the topic for today. So, no, I'm gonna jump into it in a little while. Okay, so just hold on. It may be. I think it may kind of surprise you. I don't know. I don't know. It may surprise you. It may not. I don't know. I don't know. But we're gonna see. So I see King of. Oh, I see King of Keno. Thank you so much. Terrific Tuesday. Yes, appreciate you, man, for coming on. Always great to have you support. Out of Atlanta, the A, and you've been traveling all over the world, man. So appreciate you doing what you do and posting all the content that you post. So continue to do that. King of Keno, appreciate that. And because I've been loving those pictures. He's been going to Asia, he's been to Europe, he's been to a lot of different places, this year. So I appreciate you posting those things and saying that I inspired him to travel. I'm like, dude, really? But I appreciate that, Pharaoh. I really do. I really do. So no, it's travel. That the more we travel, and I said this to someone, the more we travel, the more we get familiar with other cultures, other whatever religions, whatever, and it's just learn to respect everyone right within the world. Okay, so and I think that goes a lot further, and sometimes the people that are not, and I hate to use the word stuck here, in the U.S. and don't want to go out and travel and experience different cultures and all that comes along with that. Those are people that are closed minded. I'm just going to throw it out there, right? So the more we travel, the more we're able to, see what the world has to offer and realize that everyone's the same. Everyone's doing what they want to do. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants safety. Everybody wants security. Everybody wants to be respected for who they are, what they do, or, anything like that. So, and that's what it's all about, right? So, but the people that don't do that don't travel, those are ones that are closed minded. Now, I'm just throwing it out there because that's just what I see. And I've traveled enough to kind of see that I know what the heck I'm talking about. So I'll go on TikTok and try it there. Oh, please do. I appreciate you, Craig. Thank you so much. And come back on there and let me know. But anyway, let me jump back over to the main screen. Keep the main thing the main thing. So let me get back over here and let's start the intro and then we're going to get into the show. Okay, so let me click over to this and click on this. We'll be back in two and two. Hey, Russell of Hotels, once again on air with Russell of Hotels, that live hospitality talk show that everyone's talking about. Thank you guys so much for joining. This is show number 325. Appreciate you being on here. Once again, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and IG. So everyone that's on IG, thank you guys for coming on. I see Mr. Tryon Pyatt. He's out of Beat Town. He's out of Blythe, Always good to have somebody from Blythe on the show, right? And then we got Andrew out there in Ancona, Italy. So I appreciate people from that's around the world, right? That's not here in the United States. I was just talking about, people travel and all that stuff. So moving into next year, and I think I mentioned this to on Monday when I have my guest host, and that's Miss Tiffany English. She comes on and gives different insight on meetings and things like that. And I told her, or I mentioned to her, that going into next year, when I see people that are on, or they're in the chat or whatever, I'm going to ask them where they're from, where they're tuning in from, because I think it's important that we know that that people from around the world are watching this darn show. Okay, the Big A in Anaheim. Okay, so thank you so much, Craig. So Craig is out there in Anaheim. Let's see. I know where that's Craig Sullivan, and I know where Craig Giangrosso is. But yeah, if you guys could just let us know where you're tuning in from. I appreciate that. And that goes for the people on IG as well. But I know Andrew is out there in Ancona trying pie. I'm not sure. I think he's in Central California. I want to say Central Valley, something like that. I don't want to throw out a city and he's like, no, that's not where I'm from. That's not where I live, or whatever. So you know what? Let me know if you're still there. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, and I appreciate it. So we're gonna get into this show. Excuse me. We're gonna get into the show. So I always say that the live, I mean, I love when people are on live because they can make comments in real time, but the replay is just as important. So if you're watching or listening to me on the replay, that's good too. I just appreciate the support that someone is actually listening or watching, right? Doesn't matter if it's live or if it's on the replay. Of course, I like the live because I can say, oh, I had this many people on live, and you can make comments in real time, right? And that's one thing that I like to do, because it's all about, for me, it's all about the engagement. I want to engage with people, say, hey, what's going on? If I know something about you, I'm gonna mention it. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So that's what it's all about, right? So, but anyway, and I'll never do one of these shows. I don't think so. Have I done one that I'm not highlighting or showcasing a hotel or a destination? Okay, so I think today I may be doing, no, I think it's one hotel, right? And it's actually my favorite hotel in Orange County. Okay, my favorite hotel in Orange County. Anybody have any guesses? I don't know, but anyway. But before I get into that, so I'm coming up with this quote series, right? So I've been kind of coming up with these quotes over the last couple years, and I didn't realize that I had so many until I was cleaning out some files, right? And I see all these, these quotes, from Russell of Hotels, right? And I said, you know what? I should do a quote series. Well, I didn't say this, but my assistant did. Okay. My assistant said, you know what? You should do a quote series. I'm like, okay, let's try it. So you guys know I'm big on visibility, or a proponent of visibility. I mean, hence why is this show even existed? It's because of visibility. I think the more you're in front of people, I think it goes back to this, and this is one of the quotes I came up with: have a presence without being present. Okay, you can be around someone, you can be in front of somebody and not physically in front of them, right? You can be virtually in front of them. And that's where social media comes in. A lot of times we forget that stuff, or we don't even think about it. So that was just one quote. And this is another quote that's for today, right? This is today's quote. Visibility isn't luck. It's a strategy you commit to every day. So that's why I do On Air with Russell of Hotels. That's why I do the daily check-in with Russell of Hotels. And I guess that's why now I'm doing these quote series, right? Because it's all about the visibility, and you don't want people to forget about you. You want people to know who you are, what you do, and how you can help them, right? So obviously, if I'm putting visibility as in luck as strategy, I want people to know that Russell of Hotels is I do hotel site selection for companies and organizations. 10 rooms or more is considered a group, right? So that's one of the things that I do. I find that right hotel for that company or that client. If it's a retreat, if it's a conference, if it's a convention, 10 rooms or more, I've done from 10 rooms, which is the minimum, to 660 to 650 rooms on a peak night. So those are things that I do for my clients, right? I'm not about, I don't do the, I'm not a meeting planner, meaning I'm not working the event and things like that, but I do assist them with finding the right hotel for their event, right? If that's meeting space, if that's hotel, if that's multiple hotels, if that's destination they've never been to, that's fine. You just choose the destination. It's my job to find the hotel, right? So but people don't know what they don't know, right? So people don't know that you do this unless you're visible. Okay. So this is not luck that people happen to find me, right? It's strategy. I came up with this strategy, but back in 2019, that was the first show that I did, January 2019. So there you go. So just remember that. And just remember, you'll start seeing these Russell of Hotels quote series. And today's quote, or actually, I think I put it out yesterday, or maybe it was just this morning. Visibility isn't luck, it's strategy you commit to every day. There you go. So let's see. Let's see. Did I have any other comments here? TikTok is perfect for sound. Okay, thank you. I tested Instagram. Okay, you know what, Craig Giangrosso, man, I owe you a shirt. I owe you a shirt, Craig Giangrosso, because you're doing above and beyond, right? So I appreciate that. Thank you so much to know that TikTok, I sound good, Instagram, and everything else. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. So let's move on. So once again, I'll never do a show that I'm not showcasing a hotel. And today is, like I said, is my favorite hotel in Orange County. That's Vea in Newport Beach. So it's a resort and spa, and that's part of the Marriott family. Marriott Bonvoy. A lot of people don't know that, but it's part of the autograph collection of Marriott. So Vea, VEA, and I know Vea stands for something. I can't remember what it stands for, but anyway, it doesn't matter. 400 guest rooms, 70,000 square feet of meeting space. And I've had several groups that have utilized this hotel, and they basically just fell in love with it. In fact, I've done repeat business because, one client loves the hotel so much. Let's continue to go back, right? So yeah. So, and they're not even from Orange County. They're from California, but not Orange County. So people outside of Orange County love this hotel as well, right? So if you're interested, you have any questions at all, you got a group for Vea, let me know. I'll help you out. Because that's what I do. So this is part of the guest room. This was actually a suite. So I have several photos here, including some non-meat eats. So you guys know now, if I find a hotel with meeting space, with rooms, well appointed, what is that? What does that really mean? A well appointed room. Anyway, and then I find something that has non-meat eats. That's it for me, right? I'm over the moon over that at that point, right? So this is like a cauliflower steak over, I'm gonna say that was black beans or something like that. I can't really remember because it's been a minute, and I've eaten probably 1,000 meals between when I was there last, right? So, but it was very good, very flavorful. It's one thing to have plant-based dishes or non-meat eat dishes. That's what I call them. That's my term for vegan or plant-based, is non-meat eats, because there's no meat in it at all, right? All plant-based. So it's one thing to put things there, but it's another thing to have that they have flavor, right? And this had flavor, and I appreciate that. It was so good. And then I can't remember, it was something else. They had like Brussels sprouts or some other things that we got for a side order, but very good. So they do a good job, and they're creative at what they do. So that's one thing that I find out, that when there's a kitchen or a restaurant or a hotel that will offer vegan dishes, more than likely the chef or the people behind the scenes are very creative. They're not going to put anything out there. They're not just going to throw, some broccoli and spinach on a plate and say, "Oh, this is vegan. Go ahead and do it." No, they're going to be creative, because the more creative they are, the more people see it, and the more people are going to ask questions like, "What is that? Oh my God, that looks good. Is it good? Oh yes, very good. Oh my God. Oh, you're vegan? Oh, you know what? I kind of like dabble in plant-based, but sometimes the food doesn't taste as good." Well, this tastes good. Okay. So it starts a conversation, right? Because I guarantee you, when they bring this food out, they're like showcasing it because they want other people to see that, hey, we don't just do a steak, we'll do a cauliflower steak and we do it well, right? I remember at Click Conference, and this was the last Click Conference, which was I want to say back in March of this year, right? 2025, right? Craig. And I remember ordering the vegan, I can't remember what it was, the vegan option. But what they do, they bring it out because they want to showcase it. And this was at the what was it? The Westin in Long Beach. They brought it out and people are like ooh and on and what is that? And oh my God, that tastes good. I should have got that. And it was and the food was delicious. It was absolutely delicious. So like I said, that's a way that and I talk about it all the time, right? Like some people ask me, well, what's the best, banquet food, vegan food, right? Banquet vegan food that you've ever had. I'm like, well, right now to date, it was the West End in Long Beach, right? Because they brought out that food. I mean, it wasn't just eye appealing, but it was appealing to the soul, right? It was something that I ate, and I was like, oh my God, this is something else, right? And it's not on the menu, right? So a lot of times you have to ask the chef, like, hey, I got like 10 vegan, people that are vegan, what can you do for them, right? And they'll come, believe me, if they're creative enough, they won't be put off by it. They'll come up with a lot of suggestions. And that's what you look for, right? At least that's what I look for. And like I said, the more suggestions or the more vegan options they offer, the more creative they are, right? I just throwing it out there, just throwing it out there because that's from my own experiences. So there you go. There you go. Let's move on. Front desk area. Once again, this is Avea Newport Beach Resort and Spa. 400 guest rooms, 70,000 square feet of meeting space, and I think that's made up in about 28 different rooms that they have there. So it's a huge footprint. Very nice, upscale, everything. In fact, my client could not stop talking about the service. They said the service was next level. That's what my client said. I'm not saying this. The client told me. She goes, oh my God, the service, the food was next level. And that's why they continue to go back there because of that. So there you go. There you go. And this is okay, so this would be the living room part of the suite. And of course, you can't have a resort and spa without a golf course. So at least there's one 18 hole. There may be two, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, you can't see it on this photo here, but you have Newport Harbor in back of that golf course, and then you have the ocean, the Pacific Ocean in back of that. I mean, just a breathtaking view that you can see from my guest room. So this is from the window. This is not outside. This is actually from the balcony of my guest room, guest suite, actually. And this is one of the meeting spaces. You've seen one meeting space, you've seen them all. No, they're all very nice. Not all of them have windows though, but a good percentage of them do have natural lighting in there. And this is the front desk area. So this actually opens up to like a patio area outside. Wi-Fi works out there as well, because I'm always looking for that. Your dad loves golf? All right, sounds good. Let's see. Let me put those comments up there. That's one thing I forget. You got to put the comments up there. It's been a good 2025. 2026 is going to be fun. Yes, it will be. Craig, thank you so much. Craig also says the food looks good, man. Yes. And then, yeah, your dad loves golf. Okay. Very good. Very good. And then Craig Sullivan, he had some comments on there as well, getting ready for the new year. I mean, I'm sure Craig's going to be, celebrating. Yes, indeed. Okay. Very good. Very good. So let's move on. Let's see. Did I do something wrong here? Did I do something wrong? Oh, that's the same one. No wonder. I keep clicking on the same one. So this is the outside area. Once again, it's it's in a business park though. You would know because the back part of it, like I said, is the golf course. And then if you continue to look, is the harbor and then the ocean. So kind of like a triangle area, I guess. But on one side, you can see buildings. That's another building. That's not the hotel. That's it's in a kind of a complex, with a lot of other buildings and offices and shops and stores and things like that. So very nice, but yeah, it gives the illusion that it's all resortish, but no, the front part is kind of city or like I said, buildings and things like that. But very nice. Everything is very nice. And this used to be the Marriott Hotel. So this was converted to the Vea some years ago, right? So if you know the Marriott Newport Beach, well, the Marriott Newport Beach is now Vea, and it's upscale now. So just in case you didn't know, and this is a guest room again. See the window right there overlooking the golf course. So there you go. Okay. So we gone through that. Okay. So the topic for today is, and we're going to try to keep this brief. We don't have to, keep it going, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And let me get my iPad out so I make sure I know what I'm saying. I make sure I know what I'm saying. Okay, so the topic for today, and remember, well, you wouldn't remember because I'm just now telling you this. This topic is on my blog. Okay, so you don't have to write anything down or commit anything to memory. It's right here. Okay, I mean it's already there. So just go russellofhotels.com and go to the blog, drop down, bing, and it'll pop up. But I'll remind you of that in a minute. Once I go through this, I'll remind you of that again. So don't worry about trying to, like I said, commit anything to memory. So the topic, reasons to consider looking for a new DOS role. Okay. So like I said, I have these conversations and they always tend to happen at the end of the year when people are, they just finished their budget, budget reviews and marketing plans and all these kind of things. And they're kind of spent, right? And it's a good way to reevaluate what's been going on at that hotel with your general manager, with the ownership groups, with the management company, whatever the case may be, right? These are times for us to kind of reevaluate what the heck is going on, right? If maybe we should take our show on the road, if you will. So, like I said, I've had this conversation with at least three directors of sales, and then at least one senior salesperson that said, you know what, I think I made a mistake. He had just started his job, maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago. Okay. He said, maybe I made a mistake coming here and I don't think they appreciate me, things like that. So a myriad of things, emotions go through your mind, when you're at the end of the year and, maybe things didn't go as well as you thought, or maybe the ownership group or the management company or general manager, they got their own way of thinking and they're like, well, you didn't hit any of the goals that we set for you or that maybe I set for you, but no one else knew about it, right? So there's a lot of things that go on. So hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Let me just go back over one more time. Lisa Barbagallo. What? Lisa Barbagallo. Yeah, no, that's a voice from the past, or that's a blast from the past. Now, Lisa Barbagallo. See, this is the thing. When I do these shows and I see people, that I know or that I remember from back in the day, I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna bring up a story or something like that. So Lisa Barbagallo and I used to work together. I used to work for Lisa. She was my director of sales and marketing at the Hilton in Warner Center, okay, or Woodland Hills, California, which is outside of Los Angeles. I would say from downtown is probably 20 miles or 20 minutes, something like, well, at least 20 miles. That doesn't equate to 20 minutes, but let's just say, 20 miles. So probably close to an hour from where I live. And I don't live downtown, but close to an hour off the 405. I'll take the 405 to the 101, get off on Canoga, okay, make a right, and you'll run right into it. So, but anyway, okay. So Tom Torrance was a director of sales and marketing before Lisa. So Tom gave me my shot in sales, but Lisa kind of molded me into the sales manager that I guess the salesperson that I am today, or which gave me opportunity to be a director of sales later, right? All the things that I learned at the Hilton, Warner Center, Woodland Hills came because of Lisa Barbagallo. So thank you so much, Lisa. See, that's why, it's a good thing that I have a good story, right? So, but yeah, so Lisa Barbagallo, I have not spoken to her in quite some time, but Facebook friends, you like, and you click and you like certain things when people post things, and happy birthdays and all that stuff. And I remember when her kids were young, and now they're grown men, they're adults and all this stuff. Remember her husband Bill. I remember all these things. So yeah, shout out to Lisa, shout out to the Barbagallo family. But yeah, I used to work for her. So like I said, Tom Torrance gave me the opportunity, but Lisa, took advantage of that opportunity and molded me to where I should be in sales. Gave me those opportunities to, to take over a market, to learn, Smurf and all those kind of things, right? So yeah. So there you go, right? So that's what it's all about. So that's why I encourage people to come on, and encourage, to listen, to watch, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so let's see what else. Okay, where was I? See? Then I get sidetracked, right? Because I get excited when people come on, right? I appreciate that. I appreciate when people come on and show themselves. It maybe sometimes people don't even know that their names pop up. They just maybe scrolling past, like, oh, is that Russell? What the hell is he saying? And then next thing you know, boop, your name pops up, and I got something to say. So, but anyway, okay. So reasons to consider looking for a new director of sales role. Okay, I already mentioned this, right? So I already gave you. No, I didn't give you the intro. So being a director of sales isn't just about selling rooms and meeting space. It's about alignment. Okay, support and long-term vision. When those elements begin to shift or disappear, even the strongest sales leaders can find themselves working harder without seeing real progress. Preaching to the choir. Knowing when to reassess your environment isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of leadership. Here are 3 key reasons a hotel director of sales might begin considering a new role. Okay, so these are, like, I just came up with 3. Three for the show, but I have 5 on my website. Okay, so 5 on my blog. Okay, but I just wanted to limit it. I always want to limit things to like 3s on the show. I don't know why. Probably because of time, right? Everybody got time. I mean, everybody does not have time to listen to everything that I'm talking about. So anyway, so let's get into it. Number 1, and I have them right here. See, okay, well, hold on one second. Let me get to it. Number 1. Boom. Misalignment between expectations and reality. If leadership expectations continue to shift without clarity, unrealistic budgets, constantly changing goals, or a lack of alignment between ownership, management, and sales, it becomes difficult to succeed long term. I just mentioned that, right? A sales director needs clear direction, trust, and achievable goals to drive results. You know, you can't keep moving the goalposts, right? And this is more for ownership, management companies, general managers than it is for a director of sales and marketing, okay? Because a lot of times they don't understand what they're doing. They just because and general managers, they become on a hot seat and they say, well, if my feet are to the fire, I got to hold my director of sales feet to the fire too, right? Well, obviously you agree to whatever the budget is, the numbers, okay, because we're all responsible for those numbers, and the marketing plan, right? So I guess you need to start there. Are they, and this is for the general manager, are you evaluating what's been going on? Have they achieved those goals? And just because you're getting fire or some pushback from ownership or management company, does that mean that you need to raise the bar or move the goalposts after they've achieved those things? Yeah, maybe you can, maybe you can't, right? But I think a conversation needs to happen before you do that, right? Like, okay, you've achieved these, well, let's can we go a step further? But you still have to give them their flowers for making those goals, because you were part of those things, right? And it's funny how general managers forget that I can't do anything, I can't get things approved without him or her. Okay. So it's funny how when they get, in these meetings and say the director of sales and marketing is not in there, it's this ownership, the management company, and the general manager, how things change, right? Like, oh, well, they're not doing this, or he or she's not doing that. That's the stuff that happens in some of these meetings, right? So, like I said, this is more for the general managers, the ownership groups, and or a management company, because sometimes all three entities don't see eye to eye on certain things, right? Especially when things are going bad. Oh my God, then you know everybody's to themselves, right? Everybody is every man or woman for themselves, right? So just remember those things. And I'm gonna read this one more time. Misalignment between expectations and reality. If leadership expectations continue to shift without clarity, unrealistic budgets, constantly changing goals, or lack of alignment between ownership, management, and sales, it becomes difficult to succeed long term. A sales director needs clear direction, trust, and achievable goals to drive results. Yeah, they have to be achievable. Okay. Where do you get these goals from? Where are they coming from? Okay. Is it because the owner wanted this? I remember being in a situation. I'll give you some example. I remember being in a situation where the ownership wanted, like, say, one year we did 35 million in sales. Okay. Okay, great. 35 million. That sounds pretty good, right? Depending on the size of the hotel and where the hotel is located. Well, the same owner wanted, to, add from the 35 million that we did, let's do 38 or 39 million dollars. Like, okay, that's a lofty goal. What did you base this on? Because I've done my homework and I presented, all the numbers and what the trends are, and I knew for a fact that there was more supply coming in, meaning more hotels coming online. I think there was another 1,800 rooms coming online, right? So, which means the business that we were getting, some of that is going to trickle to the other hotels, the ones that are new, right? It's just a shiny new dime. It's just, that just happens. Evolution. I mean, it just happens, right? That people will go and try other properties, right? There's nobody back then, there's still no loyalty. Okay, just like there's really no loyalty now, especially like I said, if you're new and you're offering these newer rates. And then just so happens there is companies that are moving out of the area as well. Okay. So all those factored against you making $39 million. Okay. The 33 or 35 was great, but there's no way you're going to get X amount of more dollars. So I, came in with my facts and this is what's going on. And not that I don't want to be challenged, but of course we want to be challenged. But we have to go back to reality. Is this true? I mean, can we do this? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? And no, it was not. So the general manager, who didn't have a backbone, basically, bow down, cow down, or cowered to the owner, because it comes a point where some of the general managers, they're not even comfortable in their position, and if the owner says something, they're going to say, well, how high should I jump? What should I do? Well, we want this number. And he said, yeah, we can do that number. And then he comes to me. I said, there's no way we can do that number. I said, you've seen the reports. You've given the reports to the owner. Yeah, but the owner doesn't want to hear that. I said, well, you have to be the one to go and tell him. That's your job, right? This is why we can't do it. I mean, we'll be challenged. I mean, this is great, but these numbers are not going to be achievable. Well, it came down to this. It was either him, it's either you or me kind of thing. I'm like, what? See, that's why I say, general managers, everybody don't need to be a GM, okay? So, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but bottom line, we all have to be on the same, page when it comes to marketing plans, when it comes to budgets, okay? Are they attainable? And I wouldn't sign off on, and I told him I wouldn't sign off on it. I said, I'm not signing off on that. He said, well, what's going to happen then? I mean, he's asking me what's going to happen. I said, well, either I'm going to leave on my own or you're going to force me to leave. One of the two. I mean, that's it, because I'm not going to sign off on that. And I didn't. And guess what? I end up leaving that hotel. So those are things that can happen when things don't align properly, right? And sometimes you see the writings on the wall, like, okay, I need to go, I need to get my shit and get the hell out of here. And that's exactly what happened. So misalignment between expectations and reality. So just remember that. Number two, oh boy, I'm getting worked up again. It's been years. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Any other comments? No comments on there. Thank you guys so much for joining on Instagram. I appreciate you. Number two, lack of support, resources, or investments. Sales performance depends on tools and support, CRM systems, marketing budgets, staffing, and access to decision makers. When a property isn't willing to invest in sales infrastructure or ignores marketing realities such as renovations, comp set changes, or brand challenges, growth becomes limited. I just mentioned that, right? I just mentioned a couple of those things, right? I didn't mention the CRM system, but you got to be automated. First of all, you got to be automated. You have to be updated with your automation, okay? Budget, staffing. Do you have enough staff to get things done? Access to decision makers. Do you have enough money to get to your decision makers, whatever that even means for your property? When a property isn't willing to invest in sales infrastructure or ignores market realities, what's going on within the market. I just mentioned that there was new supply coming in, 1,800 rooms that weren't there the previous year. You got companies moving out. What does that mean? If companies moving out and there's new supply coming in, what does that mean? I mean, there's a shift, right? That means you're not going to be able to achieve some of the things that you may have, thought you would, right? But you're going through the marketing plan. You have to present it, right? But like I said, in that situation, it was a no-win situation for me at that point. It was no win. They were gonna, and guess what? They didn't end up doing what they did the previous year. Okay. And not that I needed a crystal ball to know that, but when the facts say it, when the numbers are there, I mean, that's why we hire. I would hope this is why do ownership and general managers hire directors of sales and marketing? I think, well, this is initially because they know you're the expert in that role, right? We can get along. I think, you're a good teammate and we can do this, we can work together, whatever. That's and then when things don't go right, that's when things go south, if you will, right? Because one thing didn't work or the numbers aren't where they are, where you think they should be, right? Well, if you do a budget and you're signing off on budgets that are unrealistic, well, that's the making of a disaster. And that's exactly what happened. And once again, I was gone at that point, but the hotel, of course you keep in touch with, certain people, right? The hotel didn't make what they did the previous year. So anyway, but what about renovations? Okay. I always tell people, I can sell a hotel that needs to be renovated as long as it's clean, but I can't sell a hotel that needs renovation and that's dirty, right? So I've sold properties that, I mean, you show the best features. You talk about the history of certain hotels, right? And then they look past the need for renovation, right? So there's ways around that stuff. But if it's in badly need of renovation and your comp set has constantly been updating their property, well, yeah, then that puts you at a disadvantage. Definitely does. And you need some changes. But sometimes ownership doesn't want to do that. So you can't control when hotels are going to be renovated. You just have to, sometimes you just got to grin and bear it and hope for the best, right? So I never got caught up on a hotel that needed some renovation, right? As long as it was clean, housekeeping did what they needed to do. That's really all I cared about, right? Because I can sell a clean hotel that needs renovation. I cannot sell a hotel that needs renovation that's dirty. Okay, there's no way that can happen. All right. So, and what's going on with the comp set? Comp set may be doing things. They may be lowering their rates. Well, those are things you need to identify. Okay. So, but anyway, so that's 3. And then number 4, limited growth or advanced opportunities. So these are reasons why maybe it's time for you to go, right? These are basically, let's just keep it simple, right? These may be opportunities for you to get out of there, right? Because if you're already on that fence, right, you're looking for reason that you should go, right? So these are things that I'm going through. Number three, limited growth or advancement opportunities. If there's no clear path forward, professionally, financially, or in leadership responsibility, it may be time to explore an environment that values development. Strong sales directors strive where mentorship, education, and advancement are encouraged, right? So sometimes it's time for you to take your show on the road, right? So sometimes, I mean, and we mentioned three things: misalignment between expectations and reality. I beat that horse to death, right? Number two, lack of support, resources, or investment. If hotels are not willing to invest, and sometimes the size of the hotel matters, right? Meaning there's not enough revenue coming in for them to do some of the things, right? And if maybe this is your first time being a director of sales and marketing, there's more reasons for you to be there than not, right? Learn as much as you can, and then that way you'll know how to work with less, right? Okay, we don't have the funds to do this. We can't do client, appreciation gifts or whatever. Okay, that's fine, right? Those are things you can live with. All right, you can live with those things. Do you have enough staff? Um, okay, we talked about renovation. Okay, but that's not a big reason just to jump ship and leave. Now, if you're not alignment with your general manager or ownership, and they have these unrealistic expectations, okay, then yeah, maybe that's a good sign, or that's a sign that maybe we need to go somewhere else, right? But think about it before. Just don't react, right? Because you don't want to keep moving every 6 months. It's time to go. But one of the people that I talked to that was thinking about leaving, they've been there, I think it'll be 2 years in February. So I'm like, you've been there a year. Shoot, 12 months is good. Okay, 12 months and you're done. So I think it just depends. And she's been a long time director of sales and marketing. So I get that. But I have this other colleague that this is her first time being a director of sales and marketing, and she's trying to compare things to a hotel that she was previously at as a sales manager. I said, you can't do that. You have to learn. I mean, as a director of sales, there's a lot of different things we have to learn, and only being there 6 months is not enough time. So I said, you need to be there at least 12 to 18 months before you consider going somewhere else, unless things are just so unbearable and you just have to get out because, oh my God, this is crazy. Well, I don't think that's the case there. So I said, no, you're comparing too many things to your previous experience. Because if you spent the bulk of your time being either a sales manager, national sales, or maybe an assistant director of sales, or maybe no, not assistant, a senior salesperson, you don't know what it's like to be a director of sales and marketing. So take that time and learn as much as you can. I don't care how big the property is. Smaller properties, you're going to learn a lot more. Okay. You're going to learn how operations deals with certain things, and what you can sell. What you can sell and what operations can service. On a smaller scale, it's better to look at it on a smaller scale, and then when you get to a larger hotel, you'll understand all the components and who's working to do what and all that kind of stuff, right? So it just depends, right? But the first reaction is always to, oh, I'm leaving, I'm out of here, right? But just consider those things. Like I said, these things will be on my blog, so feel free to follow up and check them out. In fact, I will put them up there. I put my blog up there right now, so check it out. So my blog, russellofhotels.com. All the topics that I talk about on this show will be there, including the topic for today. So just go there and check it out. It's there. Okay. So who's hiring? Okay, we're done with that, and we're coming towards the end of the show. Okay, we're coming towards the end. When I start talking about who's hiring, that's kind of getting close to the end of the show. Let's see. Here we are. Who's hiring? And I got them right here, right? I got them right here, and it's quite a few. Well, it's about 6. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 6 of them. Okay, so who's hiring? So some of these are in the greater LA area. Now, what I've done, I've expanded, okay, because we get people from around the world that are coming here, right? I mean, that are listening, or at least people, in the United States, right? So I said, well, let me expand this a little bit. So where do I get these from? The platforms that I get these jobs from: H Careers, hcareers.com. We all know about that one, right? Indeed.com and searchwide.com. Now, Searchwide, there'll be hotels on there, but there'll be a lot of destinations on there too that are looking for positions, like maybe CEOs and directors of marketing for, a CVB or a DMO or a DMC. You'll get those types of jobs there. So if you're not familiar with searchwide.com, be familiar with it. Become familiar with it. You should. Okay. So anyway, so these are jobs that are, and I'll tell you where they are. Who's hiring? So Cambria, El Segundo, Cambria. They're looking for a director of sales. Now that's a limited service hotel or select service hotel. So Cambria and El Segundo, which is right next to the airport, they're looking for a director of sales. The Marriott in Burbank, full service hotel, they're looking for a director of sales and marketing. There you go. Embassy Suites Glendale, they're looking for a director of sales and marketing as well. I love that hotel. In fact, I put group at that hotel. I put a group at the Burbank Marriott too before. Director of events, Visit Detroit. Okay, so I just selected a few. I mean, I didn't go because there's a whole bunch of them. So just go searchwide.com. But anything that's not LA, those were basically on Searchwide. So director of events for Visit Detroit, which is a DMO or a CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, or DMO stands for, what does DMO stand for? Destination Marketing Organization. Okay, so that's the marketing arm of a city or destination. Every major city and even some smaller cities have a DMO or a marketing arm. The marketing arm or the entity that promotes that destination. Again, Los Angeles has it, right? Las Vegas has it. Ontario has one. Anaheim, Santa Ana, Bakersfield, Fresno, all those have those types of things. Gilroy, they all have something that will promote their destination. Okay, so that's when you say DMO, a lot of people don't know what a DMO is, but if you know CVB, you know DMO because those terms are interchangeable now. So CVB would be the old term, DMO would be the new term. So if you're trying to be cool, just say, I work for this DMO, or I was working with this DMO. They're like, oh my God, he or she knows what a DMO is, that kind of thing. So anyway, you heard it here. Okay, you heard it here. So who's hiring? See, I lose focus easy. So once again, director of events, Visit Detroit, check out searchwide.com. Executive director for South Padre Island. They're looking for an executive director. Padre Island, right off of Texas. This is between Texas and Mexico, I guess is where it is. But they're looking for an executive director. Mohegan Sun, that's a hotel resort in Connecticut. They're looking for a national sales manager. Mohegan Sun, I love that hotel, Mohegan Sun. You ever been in a hotel before? It's a casino, and they do major events there as well, like concerts. And I know that the Connecticut Sun, the WNBA basketball team, used to play there too. So they have an arena that can do 20,000 people in there. So you got a hotel. It's all in the same building. You got a hotel and this major. You got a movie theater as well as this arena that's all in this hotel. Casino. It's like a mall in there as well. I mean, it's crazy. So and it's not. It doesn't remind me. I mean, it's huge. It's a casino. It's different than a Vegas hotel, though. It just has a different feel to it than a Vegas hotel. And of course, it's not as all expensive like Vegas is as well. But it's in Connecticut. It's in Uncasville, Connecticut. You ever been to Uncasville? I happened to go there. I think it was earlier this year. I was there. Oh my God! I was like, Uncasville, where the heck is this? How do I get there? So, but it was cool. I think we flew into Providence, Rhode Island. You fly into Providence, and it's like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, maybe close to an hour drive from Providence, Rhode Island to Uncasville, Connecticut. I didn't realize, you don't realize how close some of the states and cities are, on the East Coast until you go there, right? I've never flown into Providence. I had never been to Connecticut at that point. So that's one thing about this job and what I do or my business, right? You're able to experience destinations that I wasn't able to experience before. I mean, I talked about travel, right? A lot of us don't even travel within the United States. So being able to go to the East Coast and seeing Connecticut and Rhode Island and some New Hampshire and some of these other states that I had never been to, it was great. I mean, it's just great experience. It's just exposing you to a different way of life, right? Different ways of life, and I love that. So it's cool. So there you go. So I guess that's it, right? Is that it for today? I think so. I think that may be it. So let me just check Instagram, see if it's anything else there. Anything else? No other comments, nothing. Okay, okay. So yeah, so getting ready for the new year, right? I of course we always have New Year's resolutions, but I'll share those with you because I actually came up with one and I put it in a quote. Okay, so look for that this year, or well, maybe the next couple of days, right? And look for the quote series that I'll be working on. I'm gonna redo Hospitality Unplugged, which was um, kind of a web series that I came up with earlier this year. I did 17 episodes, but kind of put it on the shelf for a minute. But I'm gonna redo that going into next year. It was just basically I did they went from maybe 3 minutes to 10 minutes each episode, and it was talking about my career progression, right? And I think I'm going to continue that. I just haven't done it yet, but I think I will. And I just think it's all about visibility, right? So the more people see you, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again because people get stagnant with it. So that's why I come up with the daily check-in. That's why I do On Air with Russell of Hotels. That's why I'm doing this quote series. And that's why I did Hospitality Unplugged, the web series, because sometimes people get stagnant with, you're doing the same thing, right? Well, if you do things a little different, or you're adding a little flavor to it, or a little seasoning, a little salt and pepper over here, seasoning salt, little Lawry's, all that kind of stuff, like a gumbo. Gumbo is a lot of different flavors together. So sometimes you do that, you gain the attention of people, or you keep their attention because you're doing things a little different. Okay. So there you go. So I used to wear blazers. Now I'm a little bit more relaxed on it. And so I'm wearing, these um, you know, whatever shirts and being more casual, right? Because that's more me than putting on a suit and a tie or a blazer. No, don't get me wrong. I will continue to wear those, but I won't be wearing them consistently because that's not me, right? Always be you. Be you. If this is how you are, then be you. Don't try to be someone else because there's other people that do these podcasts and these live shows or whatever. Be you. Okay. Don't try to. Somebody gave me advice a couple years ago, and it was Glenn Housman. I said, "Hey, what suggestions you give me? What advice would you give me?" He said, "Man, just be you. Don't try to be anyone else. Just whatever you are or however you do it, whatever your personality is, just be you." And that's what I try to be. So my personality is that I'm wearing suits all the time and ties. Okay, well then continue to do that. But that's not me, right? So this is why I'm still trying to be cool though, but I'm just not trying to wear a suit and a tie. So anyway, that is it for today. Once again, happy new year to everybody. Appreciate all the support that everyone has given me. Let me just make sure I've sent or given you information. Once again, the blog is what? RussellofHotels.com. That is my blog. If you don't follow me on IG or YouTube and LinkedIn, please do so. LinkedIn at Russell of Hotels. I'm sorry, LinkedIn at Russell L. Edmond. IG and YouTube at Russell of Hotels. And remember who I am? Remember who I am? So I'm Russell L. Edmond, but I go by the name, or the company name is Russell of Hotels. So I think that's it, right? And once again, this is my email. Once again, this is On Air with Russell of Hotels. My email, you can send me an email if you have questions about anything. Just email me, Russell at russellofhotels.com. if you have questions about maybe being on the show or logo placement, you guys know about logo placement? Okay, did you know that there's a certain percentage of people that when they see a logo on a visual podcast like this, they will act on it. That meaning they'll go look it up. That's why I give you all this information, right? Because I want people to look it up. Like, what is this Russell of Hotels? I want people to go to russellofhotels.com and look it up and see exactly who I am, what I do, and how I can help people. And that's the important thing, right? So, but sometimes we forget about that stuff. Sometimes we don't do it. We don't think that's important, and it is important that we put all our information out there. We're as visual as we can be, but we're visual because we want people to look at it. We want people to look at it. We want people to act on it. We're not just throwing things out there just because. We're throwing things out there for a purpose. Okay, it's a reason why I do this. It's strategic. Just remember that. So anyway, that is it. I've gone over my time by a minute. So anyway, you guys have a great day. And remember, the daily check-in is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So guess what? I got to do one tomorrow, right? So anyway, that is it. Have a great day. Happy Tuesday. And today's Taco Tuesday, right?